Graham Bloxton for Wellington Live and Wellington in Your Pocket. I'm down at the railway station opposite the Beehive and just at the end of Lambton Quay, and I've just walked through the protest. Never felt threatened at all, so I just wanted to invite you in to meet Sue and have a bit of a discussion. How are you, Sue?
I'm great, thanks Graham.
Excellent. Have you been staying down here? What's been going on?
Yeah, so we were here at the start of the convoy. I was actually in the centre of the North Island, and we convoyed down from Taupo through Hawke's Bay, stayed a night at Palmerston North with everyone and came down to Wellington. The funny thing is we never even meant to come on the convoy. We saw it, the energy was amazing, the enthusiasm was amazing, so we said, oh, let's just drive along with this bit, and we found ourselves in Wellington.
Apparently there's 6,000 people here, there's hundreds of people arriving every day. What is the resolve?
Well, there are more and more people coming all the time. But people have had enough of the bullshit mandate. We actually just want to take back New Zealand for the people. We can have our lives back. We don't want to be afraid of this, that and everything else. We don't want all these rules. We're grown-ups. Let us choose for ourselves what precautions we need to take. And what we're really dealing with is another version of the common cold that's been hyped up into something that's terrified people. I mean, I've been there for 10 or 11 days now. I haven't met a single person that's sick. So I've seen more smiles and more hugs and more laughter than I've seen in the last 2 years. A lot of the people over there were nurses, doctors, teachers, corrections officers, working in all sorts of really well-paid positions. But because of the no jab, no job mandate, they've become unemployed.
Do you think this could turn violent?
I've seen no sign of violence.
It seemed really quiet. I didn't realise that there was the beginnings of a riot happening.
It just happened. There were bricks being thrown, water cannons coming back from police, young men with hammers breaking up the bricks of the road. It was unbelievable.
I am Joseph Parr, the head media and digital lead for Wellington Live and Wellington in Your Pocket. A lot of the footage that you have seen is recorded by me. I was, hiding my shaky hands, trying to get the buttons to work, while in the background the protest, the riot was still going on. The police had these giant speaker systems that would be strapped to one of them, and they'd be in the line with the rest of the police, and it would just release this pulsing high frequency sound that, for me, I felt like vibrate my brain. I live in Thorndon and I walk past Parliament every day to and from work. And on the first day I walk past and I capture a picture, and it's just this giant tree of flags that say Trump 2024. And for me, that instantly made me think, okay, this is a joke. The idea of protesting the mandates, protesting the loss of jobs is fully relevant and worthy of a protest, but from day one there were people there that they were just angry at the government, and they didn't really seem to care what cause it was. They just wanted to be there to let everyone know that they were angry at the government.
I was invited to meet Sue Gray, who turned out to be an event organiser, and you came with me, and we went down to Lambton Quay to meet her. And the days before that, I'd been walking through the camp as a citizen, Camp Freedom I think it was being called then, and I was stunned at the size of it and the way that the cars had been parked in the streets in an organised way to stop the police.
At the start of the day, Graham said that we were going to interview Sue Gray, who was heavily involved in the protest, and walk down, have an interview at the train station, and then me and Graham, we split off and decide, we tell her we're going to go up and see what things are like in there. She says, no problem, they should let you right through. But when it came to actually entering, turns out they had their own little security force and no media. We had a camera, we were, for a Facebook page, we're not the mainstream media in any sense. We just, we usually stay away from big political stuff, but this had turned into a huge thing, and it was it was really affecting a lot of the city. It would be, I think, a missed opportunity not to at least try and document this historic event for the city. And we were essentially turned away. And it just seemed incredibly hypocritical to me, because it's public land. They're saying that they're not illegally occupying the space because it's for the people, yet they're trying to stop us, the people, from seeing what they're doing. So Graham says, no, I'm going to have a look, and, you know, tries to step past slightly through them, not trying to tackle or bowl them over, just trying to get through, because we have a right to see what they're doing. What happened after the interview with Sue Gray?
Got the shit kicked out of us. Sue was going to walk us around, and I went in there and the guy stopped me. I didn't expect it to be as violent as it was, and as soon as I didn't go backwards, we were attacked, and they screamed out, hold the line, and an alarm went off, and I got the full wrath of the violence that was down there, so it was incredible. And
all of a sudden, Graham's getting choked. There's suddenly twice, 4 times as many people around us than before. Someone's got a megaphone playing a siren, so the you know, it's like moths to a flame. All of a sudden everyone's converging on this point. They're saying hold the line. It's like, you know, we're intruders that they've caught at the gate that they're going to exterminate. I had to hold the camera above my head because I'm tall, just to keep it out of the reach of everyone that was just trying to take it and who knows do what with it. When the protesters first arrived, for the first couple of days it was sort of a bit of a festival, a bit of a party really. Lots of honking, burnouts, dancing, and as the days went on and the rubbish kept piling up, and they started to plumb themselves in, set up toilets, set up hot water showers, it was becoming clearer and clearer that they were just not going to leave. People were even getting married at the protest. Why did you decide to drive around the protests with the go home sign?
I was upset at the way that they were behaving, and a lot of the people that were in our air about doing something and moving them on. I took the mayor to a meeting with the 2 event organisers, and that didn't do anything.
It's time to go home, and it's just, look, I'm putting that to the side. We just want our streets back. You heard that guy there, everyone just wants it back. They've got to hear that we want it back. We want our streets back. Wellington Live's editor called me while I was in Blenheim one day and said that one of the protesters put my private address online. I then had to take that as a threat, had to call the police, and the police put me on a special number where I could call this number to get support. My daughter had to run away with her friend from home, and we were just so nervous. And then the bloke, James Black, put a software system together and got a whole lot of people, 144,000 people signed a petition for people to go, and that was amazing. That's when the turning point was for the protest.
How did things happen on the final day of the protest?
Well, we were driving around and missed the fact that it was ending, and at about 3 o'clock I picked up that it was becoming a riot and jumped on my bike and went down there. And when I got there, it was intense. There were bricks being thrown and police on the other side of the main gates to Parliament with shields, and a massive row of police along the top of the hill in Parliament, and they'd cleaned the protesters out of Parliament. I was so surprised. I thought it was all over then, and I then saw a person run along with a pot plant, throw it over the fence and smashed into the police, and the police fell over each other. And at that stage I turned on our Facebook and turned on a live out to the followers, hundreds of thousands of people, and then it just happened.
I look at my phone and Wellington Live has gone live.
Okay, going live down at Parliament. There are people throwing bricks in at the police. The police are in behind here. This is wild and a half.
And then there's Graham. There's hoses, there's bricks being flown I got a message saying to come down and do some filming, that, you know, it's going crazy. And half of me just wants to stay nice and comfy at home. But then ultimately, I mean, how many times does a riot happen on government grounds?
It was organised chaos. Chaos in a really violent and incredibly intimidating and nasty way. The police seemed to know what they were doing. They were never arresting anyone. They would just seem to have a strategy in place where they would suffer the bricks being thrown at them, and they were sort of jinking and jiving, and the police went back up the hill, and the rioters then went through the gates again and thought they'd recaptured Parliament, I suppose. And a man went through the gates wearing a dry as a bone jacket, ski goggles, and with a big stick with a Maori flag on it. And he just stood there, and he was being hosed with a full-on fire hose. I think the protesters knew that they weren't going to be arrested, so they were enamoured by the fact that they could get away with whatever they did. The terror that they did there by throwing the bricks, the pot plants, breaking the road up, getting hosed down, throwing in and out, hurling abuse, anything. They knew that they weren't going to get arrested, so therefore they just kept going. It was like a standoff where no one was going to do anything other than they kept throwing bricks and the police didn't do anything. It really was an incredible stage of the riot.
When it came to the bricks flying over us, and then eventually getting a bit of a hit of the water cannon, that's how close we were to the police line, it started to get pretty, you know, pretty jumpy, lots of adrenaline happening. I captured some footage of the car reversing into police, but at that stage I'd backed off a bit.
A young man hopped into the Mirage car and put it in reverse and gunned it towards the police walking forward, and I thought at that moment I realised someone was possibly going to be killed. It was quite incredible. He's then doing 30 k's towards the police, and a couple of police members came out of the line of the police and broke the back window of the car and ran around and grabbed the driver, tried to grab the driver, and the driver put the car from reverse into first, narrowly missing the police line. I think some shots went into the back of the car, sort of rubber bullet shots, so the driver must have realised he was in trouble. He then went into first, and as the car was going backwards, the wheels started to skid. He then got traction and then took off towards the bus terminal, parked the car up, hopped out of it as though he was on a Sunday shop, and just walked off. And the next time I saw him, he was smashing the main doors to the university and setting fire to the bin.
The funniest moment for me, in amongst all the chaos, was this protester that was, you know, starting to jog to sort of go towards the other side of the line of protesters, and as they were doing it, they stop, they look down, and then they pick up, it's about sort of that big, one of the shells from the rubber bullets that the police were firing into the crowd, and he just casually picks it up and goes, "Oh, nice, this is mine now," puts it in his pocket and carries on. It's such a chaotic event, and everyone is, you know, you can sense the energy of everyone else, and everyone else is reacting in different ways, and just seeing that small slice of just one person's reaction to an event in there was, yeah, it was quite interesting and helped sort of bring me outside of myself and what I was experiencing. All my awareness was really going into at least trying to capture as much clearly as I could with everything going around. I just remember essentially the whole time having the camera up to my face, I'm living through what the camera sees in viewfinder, and then I essentially get a tap on my shoulder from Graham saying essentially, "Okay, we've got to go now." And I look around behind me, and then like the police are like right there. They're coming right up on us, and that's where we got a little bit of spray from the water cannons. It was Yeah, I was definitely you get really sucked into what's happening in front of you and you don't check about what's behind you or beside you. I think it's historic. I think it's something that hopefully won't be happening again anytime soon in Wellington. Ultimately, what I think happened was a bunch of people were hurt and scared by systems the government had put in place, and instead of the government being able to address those concerns or help them in any way, they were essentially discarded and left for people who had other motives and ideas for them to essentially radicalize some. And I just, imagine if you did believe that vaccines had nanotech in it and that everything was as horrible as the conspiracy theorists saying, and it's pushed you away from your family. I mean, if you have a moment of doubt, if you wake up and go, oh, maybe I was wrong, where do you go? Everyone just thinks you're a stupid protester conspiracy theorist. The only people now that accept you are the ones that are filling you with all this hate and doubt. There's nowhere else to go that will accept you and take you in anymore. Just doesn't feel like at a certain point when you have a choice anymore.
Their story of and hurt of losing their jobs and the harm that's been done in the community, their story wasn't told. It may have been told in a fragmented way in social media, but certainly the themes that I picked up from people, that they were there because their families were being dealt to, disrespected, controlled by an government that seemed to be out of control, rudderless, and the way that the government dealt with it with the sprinklers and the Baby Shark music just was another example of how out of control that government is.